There have been many people who have taken office as the governor of Kentucky. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 facts about Kentucky governors. Before we get started, subscribe to the channel, like, and share this video. Kentucky became a state on June 1, 1792, and Isaac Shelby became the first governor of Kentucky. Since then, 59 people have served as Kentucky's governor. So let's start with the first fact about Kentucky governors. Their names. If you could guess on what name is the most common of Kentucky governors, what would it be? Well, interesting enough, there are a few names that come up quite often: John, James, William, and Charles. But the most common governor name is John. 8 governors of Kentucky have the first name of John. That's about 14%. 7 governors have the first name of James. 5 governors have the first name of William. That's 8%. And then 3 governors have the first name of Charles. That's 5%. There are some other governors who have the same first name, but no more than 2. Now, secondly, this one's a bit morbid. There have been multiple governors of Kentucky who have died in office. 5 governors have died since Kentucky became a state. Now, here's an interesting statistic. 4 out of the first 23 governors died. And that's 17%. That's pretty high for the time, but those were all early governors. After that stint, governors who died became less common. And another one didn't happen until 1900, when William Goebel was assassinated. Now, besides that, there are other reasons that governors might leave office, and 7 governors of Kentucky have actually resigned from their position. Some of them because they were seeking a higher office, and some of them because they were getting a little in trouble. Another governor's fact is, where do these governors come from, or where were they born? Now, the most common one you would guess is Kentucky, and that is right. 41 governors were born in Kentucky. That's a big old 69%. Now, the next most common state that governors were born in, if you know a little bit about Kentucky's history, this one might be a little easier. But the answer is Virginia. 11 governors were born in Virginia. And that's mainly because Kentucky came from Virginia. It was part of Virginia for about 2 decades before it split off and became its own state. And a lot of those pioneers and frontiersmen and settlers came from Virginia. Now, the only other state that has more than one is Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's had 2 Kentucky governors. Now, Maryland, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia all have one person who served as Kentucky's governor. Next, let's move on to their political party. What is the most common political party of Kentucky governors? This may be surprising, but a whopping majority of 35 governors were Democrats. And that might be surprising today, but for a long time, Kentucky was a Democratic state. The second most common is Republicans. There have been 9 total Republicans serve as Kentucky governor. Next, Democratic Republicans. There have been 8 total Democratic Republicans who have served as Kentucky's governor. Now this next little bit gets a little bit confusing. There's a total of 6 governors who were Whig Party members. Now, we can actually probably increase that to 9, because 2 governors at one point were in 2 different parties throughout their career. They were National Republicans or Whigs, or one governor was a Know-Nothing and also a Whig. So you could say there were 9 governors who were Whigs as well. Now our last fact about Kentucky governors is their terms in office. Governors that have served 2 terms. Now, Shelby, Helm, Chandler, and McCrary all served 2 terms, but they were not consecutive terms. Steve Beshear, Patton, Garrett, and now Andy Beshear all served 2 consecutive terms. James Garrett was the second Kentucky governor. He served 2 terms, but then they changed the Constitution so that governors could only serve 1 term at a time, meaning they couldn't serve 2 terms in a row. They can only serve 1 term at a time, 1 term non-consecutive. So in the case of, say, Shelby, Helm, Chandler, and McCrary, they were elected governor. A few terms later, they were elected governor again. So there you have it, 5 facts about Kentucky governors. There's a lot to learn and more facts to come. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and thank you again for watching. Don't forget to try out audibletrial.com/kyhistorypod to get a free book of your choosing. If you'd like to support the channel, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/kyhistorypod. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification button for more Kentucky history content. Find us on these social media platforms and check out the Kentucky History Podcast on these podcast platforms for more in-depth history of Kentucky. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.